To start with, you'll need something to put your worms in. I'm going to be using this plastic box with a lid. You'll need a lid. This box is about 10 gallons, which is about equal to 38 liters. And I think it'll be plenty big enough to start with. Then after you have your container that you're going to use for a bin, you'll need some ventilation holes. And my concern was with these ventilation holes, I'm going to be keeping this indoors sometimes, for short periods hopefully. But I didn't really want to get a bunch of fruit flies started in my bin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fiberglass screen. I got a roll of it. I'm going to use some for other projects too, but I got a roll of this stuff for about a little over $5. It's pretty cheap, and it's easy to cut with even just a pair of regular scissors. So I'm going to be covering up these holes, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. For bedding, you can just tear up thin strips of newspaper. It's probably a good idea to avoid using colored ink because it might have some chemicals you don't want in your worm bin. And after you get it all tore up and in there, it's time to wet it down. You can either wet it right in the bin, or you can put it in a garbage bag or something and wet it and then put it back in the bin. I'm going to wet it down now. Now you want your strips to be wet, but you don't want them to be dripping wet. If you get it too wet, just add more dry paper. And that's how I plan to regulate the moisture content. But once you get it wet, then just fluff it up, and I'll show you what that looks like when I'm done. Okay, once you have your newspaper wet, just fluff it up so they can easily crawl through it. And then add about 3 or 4 cups of soil. And from that, they'll get some beneficial microorganisms and also some grit that'll help them with their digestion. And now we're ready to put the worms in. Well, I just added our worms, and we'll see how long it takes for them to work this bedding down. For food, you can feed them leftover vegetable and fruit scraps. Their first meal is going to be a banana peel and a bunch of lettuce that was starting to go brown. And I just put that at one end and cover it up with a bedding. And I'm starting out with 1,000 worms. Some of these worms will be going to another bin. But as a general rule, red composting worms weigh about 1 pound per 1,000. So it's a good idea to know how much or how many worms you have, so you can have a better idea of how much to feed them. They'll eat about 3 times their body weight per week. So since I have about 1 pound of worms, they'll eat about 3 pounds of food a week. But that's about all there is to it. Now I'll just enjoy these worms and the castings they produce. Good luck if you decide to try it.